All right, welcome back, Florida Football Insiders Podcast. Hopefully, you enjoyed the recap of the week's state of Florida teams. Several teams were on bye week, and then obviously we talked about a couple games that were of note in the state. Now we're going to talk all things USF Bulls. The Bulls have shown some very, very good improvement since the beginning of the year. Under year one under Alex Golesh, and we're going to chat with Joey Johnston, who's the sideline reporter as part of the Bulls Radio Network and a longtime media member in the state of Florida here in the Tampa Bay area. So welcome back, Mr. Joey.
Thank you, Jason. Great to be here.
It's nice. You got a good team to cover, it looks like, this year. Got some vast improvement. We're going to talk about the year up to date. The Bulls coming to this week at 3-2. A nice road win, the first road win they've had in conference, the first road win in period since 2019 at East Carolina. They had lost 19 straight road games, 13 in the conference, and nice place to break a losing streak up in Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah, absolutely. And I travel with the team, so I come back with them on the charter. And, you talk to anybody in sports, they say one of the greatest, most fun things in sports is when you win on the road and travel home. Haven't had this in a long time, Jason. It's been 4 years since we've had a flight like this home. So it was great to see for the coaches and the kids to have that kind of enjoyment. It had been so long,
right?
Far too long, but it certainly looks like with the way they're playing, this will not be the last time they went on the road. They're going to do it regularly.
Talk about, I saw some pictures on social media. Talk about the joy for some of these kids that have been here 4 and 5 years that maybe had never won a game on the road. I saw one of the linemen was basically almost crying in the locker room out of joy, just to talk about the feeling of this program and these kids who've been here for multiple years, especially how they see the uptick. They see something better that they see the results of their hard work and all the perseverance that a lot of these kids have had to go through here at USF.
Yeah, I think most of all, it's a reminder of just how much they've gone through and how much they've suffered for 4 years to not have this. This isn't normal to go this long. So to say the program has been down is a massive understatement. And certainly they're not all the way back yet, but they are having great success. And not only that, they're fun to watch on offense and defense. That's the really cool thing is they're an easy team to watch, easy team to root for, and it certainly looks like they're going to be able to contend in most of their games the rest of the way, which would put them in a bowl game, which to me would be a massive win for Alex Golesh's first year.
Oh, no doubt. I think if you ask most pundits around the country going into the year, coming off of a 1-11 year, new coach, there probably weren't many people that probably thought 4 wins at most at the best. And we'll get to the schedule here in a little bit, but they've got a very good opportunity here in the next 3 weeks to get bowl eligible here in the next 3 to get it out of the way. But I mean, they got an opportunity here. Let's start back in week 1 at Western Kentucky. Most people, they're heavy underdogs. They played really well, turned the ball over a little bit too much. Byron Brown didn't play great, but they were in the game middle of the fourth quarter, ended up losing by 10, 11 points or whatever it ended up being. But they were in the game, in a game most people thought they would get beat pretty soundly. Come back, beat Florida A&M. And then to me, the big moment, big moments, they play Alabama really well. They didn't get manhandled physically. To me, I was at the game. They didn't get manhandled physically, which most people thought they would. They were very competitive with Alabama. Obviously, Alabama's quarterback situation, you can debate that all you want. But physically, I thought USF very much played Alabama pretty even.
Yeah, a very representative effort. Could have easily won the game. Had some issues on offense, obviously moving the ball, but the defense I thought played really, really well and held Alabama down. Alabama did get a nice drive at the end of the game to put it away. It would have been nice if the defense could have gotten off the field there, maybe given the offense a shot to tie it. But the defense played as well as it has in many, many years. The offense just couldn't get anything going. Got a field goal on the board as a result of a turnover, but really wasn't much of a factor. And the one time they moved it late in the second half, Byron Brown threw an end zone interception. So there just wasn't a lot to hang your hat on. They needed more than 3 points to win that game, and they just couldn't find a way to get it.
Talk about the defense. Todd Orlando doing a great job with that defense. I think I saw that they've got more sacks through 5 games than they had all last year. What is he doing? Is he doing anything schematically, or is it just coaching up the guys better or got better player? What are you seeing on defense that's making such a difference?
Yeah, I think it's all of that. First of all, I think they've really done a good job of going to the transfer portal to kind of solidify some of their positions and beef up physically across the front line. First of all, their secondary has really played great most of the year. Daquan Evans is a first team All Conference player, maybe even a mention for an All American if he continues
Yep.
to have the season he's having. Uh, the schemes certainly are a factor. Alex Golesh said the reason he hired Todd Orlando was they went up against each other so many times in the Big 12, and he said that was the one game he hated preparing for because he knew Todd Orlando was such a chore to prepare for by the way he changed things up. And certainly he's doing that. I mean, we heard Nick Saban say he thought USF had some of the most exotic blitzes that he'll see all season, that Alabama will see from an opponent. He's putting the right guys in the right places. Certainly, they're shuttling in and out. They're getting fresh bodies in there, and they are finding a way to get to the quarterback. Part of that is the players, but part of that is certainly Todd Orlando X and O'ing his way to getting the guys in the right position to make plays.
And one of the impressive things following the Alabama game, forget that they lost. I mean, to be able to recover physically the next week and come back and beat Rice in your conference opener. I mean, you always hear the theory of the Alabama effect after you play Alabama, the beat, just being beat up and all that the following week. And for them to come back at home to beat Rice, down to Rice in the third quarter, come back and win a game, again, a home conference opener, home opener, following the emotional Alabama loss. Talk about and that's where the offense started to really get back into the flow of things. Talk about what you're seeing on offense.
Yeah, that Rice USF game was incredibly exciting on both ends with JT Daniels, the quarterback for Rice, and Byron Brown. Both of them were slinging it all over the yard. JT Daniels actually got hurt late in the third quarter, and that turned out to be a big thing for USF to not have to deal with him because he had 432 yards passing in the third quarter.
Wow.
And had he stayed in the game, who knows what would have happened. But Byron Brown just was sensational with the deep ball in this game. And Naeem Simmons, the wide receiver they have, the transfer from an FCS school, end up setting not only a USF record, but a state of Florida record. And
wow.
For those of us who have been around the state of Florida, we know there have been some decent receivers in the state historically. So for him to set a record like that is pretty incredible. So
what was the yardage? What was the yardage, Joey?
272.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I did not know that.
8 catches, 8 targets, 272 yards. As Joel Gordon, the offensive coordinator, said, honestly, he said, I don't see how you could have played a better game than he played. Every time we threw to him, he caught it, and he set a state record. So that was pretty darn good. So the final score was great, 42-29, but really, to me, the most impressive part of the game was USF was in a position in the third quarter to go up by 2 touchdowns, and Naquan Wright from the 2 went lunging to the end zone, lost the ball.
Yep.
Rice recovered it for a touchback. That's bad enough. On the next play, Rice hit an 80-yard touchdown pass to their running back, or an assignment was missed. So now Rice is up in the game. That is a huge swing, and really the kind of swing that USF would never recover from in previous seasons. But they went right back at it, and they took command of the game. And that's probably the most notable thing I've seen from this team is their ability to overcome adversity and their ability to play the next play. As Alex Golesh always says, next play, next play, next play. He is a next play guy. And I'll tell you this, he is not a big picture guy. Do not ask him big picture questions.
Today.
I tried to get him going on, hey, what's the meaning of breaking this 19-game losing streak? Speak to, not going to do it. It's a game, and then we're getting ready for the next game. He is not going to get out of that situation. And really, with the way they're playing, you kind of like that attitude because he is as focused as you will see. He is all about preparing for the next game. And so far, from what we've seen in the last few weeks, can't argue with the method. It seems to be working.
Sounds like a guy up in New England on to Cincinnati.
Kind of. Not quite that dry, but the same message.
All right, so Byron Brown has another big game, 26-34, 338, and 3 touchdowns against Navy. Again, another impressive job on the road, down 14-0 early. You were there. First of all, before you talk about the Navy game a little bit, talk about the atmosphere of just watching a game at the Service Academy up in Annapolis. If you've never been there, I've never been there. Give the audience a little sense of just the pageantry of a game at one of the Service Academies.
Yeah, well, it's, first of all, you walk in the stadium and, we've all been to stadiums around the country, including Raymond James, where you have the Ring of Honor with the names of the players and the coaches, and Raymond James, Warren Sapp, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Derek Brooks, et cetera, et cetera. A pretty cool thing. At Navy, they have a Ring of Honor too, but it says Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal,
Yeah.
the Aleutian Islands. That's pretty awesome. All the great battles that the United States has been in over the years. That will get your attention. And then when all the midshipmen march in formation and then take their place on the field, and then up in the stands with just the sea of white, just the spirit that they have, and then the way they close the game. And it was really touching to see the Navy players and the USF players together as the alma mater was sung. And of course, it ends with Beat Army. And it's really a throwback to kind of just the pure spirit and competition and the meaning of much more than a game. So it's a pretty special place to be.
Yeah, and again, USF comes back from 14 down, wins the game, goes to 2-0 in the conference. Let's look at the schedule a little bit moving forward, and then we'll talk about a couple of big picture things with USF.
Yeah, I don't mind talking big picture. Actually, I'm good with it, but I just can't get Alex Golesh to do it.
That's right. So the next three are all games. If you look at the schedule, very winnable. At UAB, we get to see our old buddy Trent Dilfer, who's made a lot of news in the last few days with his meltdown on his own coaching staff at Tulane. FAU at home, which will be a good in-state rivalry game, which FAU's down a little bit, but they got a new coach, Tom Herman, who we know about. And then they go to UConn, who's struggling. Great opportunity here. You could, by the middle of October, late October, third week in October, you could be bowl eligible in 6-2.
You could, but again, and Alex Golesh will caution you that you can't look that far ahead. That it's all about winning on the road at UAB. Again, USF just won on the road for the first time in 19 games, so you can't assume anything. UAB is 1-4, but they appear to be
better than
not
that.
as bad as their record indicates. It's going to be a really cool kind of game for me because I grew up in Tampa on USF in the Sun Belt Conference when UAB was a big rivalry in men's basketball and was in football for a short time before USF moved on to the Big East. So USF has not played UAB since 2004 in football, but USF UAB, a lot of commonality, two major southern cities, two peer sort of institutions. I think it's a great conference rival for USF, and I'm really excited to hopefully get a chance to see Trent Dilfer. I really enjoyed being around him with the Bucks, and we'll always remember being at that Super Bowl when he won with the Ravens in Tampa, which was just one of the more incredible stories I've ever been around. He's, obviously, and nothing he ever does is boring. He's whether he's been the broadcaster or the player, he always has a flair for the dramatic. And it's interesting too that here's a guy that was, primarily a broadcaster, then a high school coach, and now he's a Division I college coach. So trying to make the best of that opportunity, and so I'm looking forward to it, and it's a great opportunity for USF, but also a great one for UAB. So the one good thing about it, I think, in town, a lot of people have noticed this, and they're curious, and I think USF is going to start to get a lot more viewers and fans in the stadium than they would have had. People are starting to jump on the train a little bit.
And UAB is close to my heart, where I went to school, my alma mater. I played there, so I've got some ties there too. And good to see the program. Obviously the program got shut down a few years ago and reborn. And I think Trent's going to do a good job. He may not, record-wise this year, but he's a good coach, and he'll get some players there and all that stuff. So you'll enjoy. I know you probably haven't been to Birmingham in a while, but they've done a lot of stuff downtown in Birmingham. They got a beautiful new stadium, a couple years old, so you'll like that, and it'll be a good trip up there for the weekend. So, all right, let's talk about a couple position groups. Give me a position group or two that you really have seen gotten better since week one at Western Kentucky, or maybe a group that's maybe surprised you about, boy, I didn't really think this group maybe would be as productive as they've been through 5 games?
Yeah, I am surprised by the secondary, how well it's played with Daquan Evans and Jalen Stokes and several guys in that secondary. That is really maybe the strongest unit on the team that I have seen. They continue to produce, and not only defending the pass, but they have guys that are getting in the backfield and tackling running backs for losses. Very aggressive. Really pleased with the physical play from that unit. One of the units that's come on from week one to now to me is the wide receivers.
Yep.
And I thought there was talent there, but it was not showing up immediately. But now it seems to be. In Navy, we really got a lot of diversity. It's 4 or 5 guys touching the ball and looking like they can make some plays with it. They've got a really some depth there, and that helps to explain Byron Brown's numbers. He's got a lot of great targets to go to, and we started to see that at Navy. They can shuttle guys in and out and create some problems for the opponent.
A couple of stats that I think have been interesting. I was looking through the stats before we started talking. They've made all their field goals, 5 for 5 kicking the ball,
Yes.
which is important. As we move through the season, you're going to need to make those kicks. Time of possession, 29 minutes. Most times you think of the Alex at Tennessee kind of offense, you think not as much time of possession. They're basically dead even in time of possession through 5 games, which is a good sign. You're keeping that defense off the field a little bit. The drives are a little bit longer. Those kind of things are important when depth might be an issue as you move later in the year. Those kind of things staying off the field on defense are critical items.
Yep. Here's something that just came to my mind, and it maybe is a little bit off topic, but it struck me as interesting in the Navy game. USF goes up by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter with the ball. What does that tell you? Take the air out of the ball, run some clock, right? Ice the game away. USF did the opposite. They went full air raid day, ultra fast. 7-play drive in just under 3 minutes to score a touchdown. The Navy defense had to be saying, "What in the world is this?" I mean, they were gassed, and then they had to deal with that. So to me, that shows how dangerous the Golesh offense can be, because that was not something Navy was expecting, and they just got run out of their own stadium, and that was the ball game.
And that was going to lead to my next question about Coach Golesh. You would look back at the Alabama game. There were a couple decisions on 4th down that could have been questioned. Do you punt? Do you go for it based on the style of the game? And he came out after the game.
Navy too that you could have questioned.
Right.
There was a Sean Atkins fumbled the punt after the defense had stopped Navy on the first possession. He lost a fumble. Navy picked it up and then scored on a short drive. So USF gets the ball in offense for the first time. They have a 4th and 1 at their own 30.
Okay.
And they go for it. And they don't get it.
Okay.
And then Navy scores to go up 14-0. You certainly can question that. But the one thing that is clear to me, Alex Golesh is not questioning himself on these. He goes for them with no hesitation. He wants the upside. He's prepared to take the consequences. Fortunately, it didn't hurt the Bulls this time, but there were a lot of people questioning that call. But this guy is unafraid.
Aggressive, very aggressive.
He is a fearless play caller, and he knows what he wants, and he goes and gets it. And if he doesn't get it, he'll take the blame.
Then that's what you want to. That's the respect you try to earn with your guys. At least the guys in that locker room know that they got a guy that's behind them. Talk about how you think Alex is growing into the job of being the head coach. Obviously, things are going. They're going better than most people thought they would be after 5 games. But like you mentioned, he's a 1 game at a time guy. What have you seen out of him, talking to him behind the scenes, and just like you talked about in game? Do you think the in game stuff will he'll get more? You think this is going to be the way it's going to be from now until he's done, or do you think he's going to?
I think he's good in game. I do. The only thing that people might raise an eyebrow is the 4th down calls and going for it, but. Most people's heart of hearts, you like a coach that's a little fearless.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good head coach for a first-time head coach. He's been far better than I would have imagined. There's no question he's ready for this, and there's no question that USF may not be his last stop. I mean, I know USF
Yep.
fans want to hold him forever, but yeah, it's clear to me that this guy was going to be on somebody's radar. If it wasn't USF, he was going to land somewhere because he does have the right stuff. He knows how to get the locker room behind him and make the players play for him. He has surrounded himself with some really good coaches, and he is marching to a great beat right now. He really is, and he's got this program on the move. And I think actually too, he's one of the best interviews that I've been around. He is great on the podium. He's great answering questions and explaining things. He has a really dry sense of humor. Sometimes it
Yep.
goes over the heads of people like myself.
Yep.
Gotta pay attention so you get the jokes. But I like the personality. I like the approach, and the of course I had questions like anyone would do. Is first time head coach.
Sure.
Okay, what's this going to be? But so far so good. I think he's done a great job. I do.
Last question, I'll get you to talk about the USF community, the fan base. There was some, obviously they didn't sell out the Alabama game, which to me was a little disappointing. I figured if you're going to ever sell out a game, that's the one. Or you got Bama coming to town. Talk about what is the excitement level on campus and in Tampa rising, obviously, especially now we're getting some results and winning results.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. There was a nice crowd on the road at Navy. 100 or so of them were Byron Brown family and friends.
Okay.
Wearing the number 17 jersey, but it was a pretty nice representation on the road. I think some people will make the trek to UAB, and the week after that's homecoming with Florida Atlantic. I would be shocked if it wasn't a great crowd for that game.
Right.
You have your diehards and then you have your casual fans. The casual fans are noticing what's going on, and they're some of them are saying, maybe I should go to that game. I'd like to watch this team. And I will promise you this, it's a fun team to watch. I would, I've seen a lot of football, as have you, and I know what I like, and I have enjoyed watching this team a lot. And I could not say that the last few years so much, but it's very entertaining. Even win, lose, or draw, it has been an entertaining brand of football, and the last 2 weeks have been tremendous. Not only entertaining, but great wins in the conference. So I think, Tampa is sort of a bandwagon city, even with its professional teams. We've seen the Bucks be down, and then when they come back, people rise up. I think the same thing's going to happen with USF. And I will say this, and again, I've seen it happen with the Bucks, the Rays, and the Lightning. When you have that year where it starts to turn, where everything's roses, where it's like beautiful, that's the great year, where there's no expectations. If USF goes out and wins a bunch of games and gets into a bowl game, next year they've got the expectation thing. It still could be good, but it's not going to be the same as this kind of honeymoon season where everything is just turning around and everybody's just jubilant with what they're seeing now.
And the same thing with the Buccaneers. You and I are following the Buccaneers. Nobody thought the Bucs would be 3-1 after 4 games. And
you remember, this year for sure. But I remember you talking about Trent Dilfer, the 1997 season after 14 straight losing seasons.
Right.
That thing was just magic all year, and they got in the playoffs. But that after that, it was still good, but it was always the massive expectation of Super Bowl or bust. And certainly the Bulls could have the same kind of thing. And could we be looking at a conference championship this year for Alex Golesh? Is that possible? I think it is possible. I don't know if it's likely, but it's possible. And I certainly wasn't thinking it was possible before the season.
You got Memphis in early November at Memphis. That could be the big kind of the big one there.
That could be the one right there. That could be the one. And then UTSA, Texas San Antonio on the road on a Friday night late in the season again could be. Those are the 2 games I have on my schedule that really could be the biggest challenges.
2 things before I let you go that just came to mind. Have you ever been at a game like at UCF up 28-7 or 35-7 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter and the team come all the way back and beat them? Have you ever been in attendance in a game like that with a drastic comeback?
Yes, I have a story on this. 2003, the Bucks and the Colts on Monday Night Football. Colts were coached by Tony Dungy. It was his birthday. I was writing for the Tampa Tribune, and it was a night game. The deadline
Monday nighter.
It was so you don't have a lot of time to write. So I was writing. My assignment was to write about the Colts, and So, of course, with the Bucks up 35-14 with 4 minutes to go, I'm thinking that's pretty safe, right? So
Right.
I have written my column on the disappointing night for the Colts. Tony Dungy didn't have a happy birthday. I sent it in, and then I went to the field to watch the rest of the game, and I saw the comeback from field level, went right through the overtime. I went to the Colts locker room where 1 hour after the game, Peyton Manning was still in full uniform with his shoulder pads. He was talking to anybody who would talk to him. He was so excited. It was the
Yep.
most amazing thing I've seen. So I then went back up to the press box and wrote an online column. The next day, I realized that, that first column I sent in got into the first edition
Wow.
because people called me and said, "Did you watch the game?" And I go, "Yeah, I was at the game." "Why'd you think the Colts lost?"
Ah,
Oh my gosh, my column that said the Colts lost actually got into the newspaper. So I've never seen anything quite like that. But yeah, so yes, I've seen similar. I I was at Navy. I did not watch the UCF game. All I heard was UCF was up big, and the next thing I heard was UCF lost.
I mean,
So I can only imagine what a catastrophic feeling that must be for USF and its fans, and that's a tough thing to come back from. That's the kind of thing you've got to really be
yes.
tough-minded, or else the season could get away. So it's going to be a big challenge for UCF to come back and get it going in the right way.
And we're going to talk to Matt Marshall from the Orlando Sentinel here right in a couple of minutes about that game and the meltdown and all that. He was at the game, so we will get his perspective on that. Last thing on the state of Florida. Florida State, Miami seem to be obviously the two best teams. Obviously, give me a thought on both teams through 5 weeks.
I think they're both going in a great direction. Miami, I still need to see a little bit more before I'm convinced they're a legitimate big time championship contender. Florida State, I think, is.
Yep.
I think Florida State could very well be a playoff team this year. Obviously, some tough tests down the road. One of which will be against Miami. You play these games before the season with people, and you go through a schedule. I looked at Florida State's schedule. I thought there was a chance they could run it out if they beat LSU, and so I'm thinking they can run it out. Miami still may be another year away before they're legitimately all the way back, but it looks like Mario Cristobal is going to continue to stack this team in the right direction and get back to where they once were.
Miami has Clemson, North Carolina in the month of October. If they can get through that, those two with one loss, that sets up a showdown in Tallahassee in early November. And I'm sure you've covered many of them. How cool would that be for that game to have a bunch of meeting early November?
Yeah, I have loved covering the Florida State Miami game when it's a big game, just like the Florida State Florida game when it's a big game. There are few things finer than those matchups when they matter. And if Florida State Miami matters, we really haven't seen it matter in a long time,
Right.
like it used to. It used to matter every single year. So if it matters this year, sign me up. I hope I can get in front of a television and watch it, because I will enjoy the heck out of watching that.
Well, Joey, great commentary on the Bulls. Keep up the great work as part of the Bulls Radio Network. Tell the audience where they can find the game here locally, or if they're not in the Tampa area, where they can find the games moving forward.
Well, we do our games on 102.5 The Bone FM, and also all the games are streamed on Bulls Unlimited. You can get it anywhere in the world, and it will be as clear as the game was happening right outside your doorstep. So Bulls Unlimited or 102.5 FM The Bone.
And you'll get some great nuggets from Joey on the sidelines throughout the game. I'm sure pregame and postgame he's involved as well. So good luck. Keep it up. Let's get you bowl eligible by the next time we talk.
Cool.
Enjoy Birmingham. Maybe you can get some ribs or something, some barbecue up in Birmingham this weekend.
Yeah, there's a kind of a Dreamland knockoff, I think, in downtown Birmingham, and I just, you got to show, where's the Jason Power statue? I've never seen it. Does it exist somewhere?
Right there on the UAB campus, right by the rec center. Right by the rec center.
I will take a selfie and send it to you. That'd be great.
Well, enjoy your trip, Joey. Have a great week, and let's go Bulls. Let's get to 4-2.
Thanks, Jason.